What if those old forgotten items collecting dust in your garage or basement could bring new life to your garden? If you're over 60 and looking for a creative way to spruce up your outdoor space without breaking the bank, you won't believe how these simple upcycling ideas can transform ordinary junk into extraordinary garden treasures. Stay tuned until the end for my favorite project that took me just 30 minutes but has brought joy to my garden for years. I'm thrilled you're here today because this video is all about helping you discover the joy of upcycling, turning those forgotten items around your home into beautiful, functional pieces for your garden. Imagine stepping outside with your morning coffee and seeing a garden filled with character, memories, and personal touches that didn't cost you a fortune. That's what we're creating today. We all have those corners in our homes. Maybe it's the garage, a closet, or that mysterious box in the attic filled with things we just can't seem to part with. Old teapots with missing lids, wooden ladders with a wobbly step, or perhaps rusty watering cans that have seen better days. They sit there, taking up space, gathering dust, and maybe making you feel a little guilty every time you think about clearing them out. But what if I told you those very items could bring new magic to your garden? That they could become conversation pieces, practical tools, or beautiful accents that make your outdoor space uniquely yours? And what if I told you that transforming them requires minimal effort, very basic tools, and absolutely zero special skills? Because that's exactly what I've discovered, and I can't wait to share it with you. As we get older, our gardens often become even more important to us, a place of peace, a connection to nature, and sometimes a gentle way to stay active without overtaxing ourselves. But garden decor can be surprisingly expensive and, let's be honest, sometimes a bit uninspiring. That's where upcycling comes in. It's budget-friendly, environmentally conscious, and gives us a chance to put our creativity and wisdom to work in a way that's gentle on our bodies but wonderfully satisfying for our souls. So today, I'm sharing 6 simple, senior-friendly ways to turn your junk into garden treasures. I've tested each one myself, so I know they're doable even if you don't consider yourself crafty. I'll walk you through exactly what you need, how to do it safely, and the little touches that make all the difference. By the time we're done, you'll be looking at that junk with brand new eyes, seeing potential where you once saw only clutter. So settle in, maybe grab a notebook if you like to jot things down, and let's discover how to make your garden bloom with personality without spending a dime. Let me tell you about my neighbor, Eleanor. At 72, she's the kind of person who greets each day with a smile no matter what the weather brings. She's lived in the same charming little house for over 40 years, raising 3 children and now welcoming grandchildren for weekend visits. Her garden has always been her pride and joy, not because it's perfectly manicured or filled with exotic plants, but because it's a living scrapbook of her life. Last spring, I noticed something was off. Eleanor's usual cheerful demeanor seemed dimmed. When I dropped by with some tomato seedlings, she confessed that her garden was feeling tired, just like she was. Her fixed income didn't leave much room for store-bought garden decor, and the arthritis in her hands was making some gardening tasks increasingly challenging. The joy was seeping out of her favorite hobby, and it broke my heart to see it. Then one afternoon, I spotted Eleanor's son helping her clear out her garage. Boxes and old furniture lined the driveway, destined for donation or the dump. Among the cast-offs was an old wooden stepladder, paint peeling and one step missing, a collection of chipped teacups that had belonged to her mother, and a rusted metal watering can with a hole in the bottom. Just junk, she sighed when she caught me looking. Should have gotten rid of it years ago. That's when an idea struck me. The next day, I came over with a few basic supplies, some outdoor paint, a bag of soil, a few packets of seeds, and my toolbox. Eleanor looked puzzled but welcomed me in with her usual grace. We spent the afternoon transforming that junk into something magical. We secured the ladder, gave it a fresh coat of paint in Eleanor's favorite blue, and arranged potted herbs on each step. The missing step became the perfect spot for a hanging basket. Those chipped teacups? We drilled drainage holes and turned them into charming succulent planters arranged on a salvaged wooden tray. And that leaky watering can? It became an enchanting fairy garden container, the hole now an intentional drainage feature. When we finished, Eleanor stood in her garden, eyes glistening. "It's like seeing old friends in new clothes," she whispered. But the real transformation wasn't just in her garden, it was in Eleanor herself. The spark was back. Over the weeks that followed, neighbors commented on her garden's charming new look, giving Eleanor an opportunity to proudly share the stories behind each piece. "That was my mother's favorite teacup," she'd say, or "that ladder helped us paint every room in this house when we first moved in." The best part? Eleanor started looking at everything differently. A broken bird bath became a mosaic-topped garden table. An old dresser drawer transformed into a rolling planter that she could tend without bending. Even her late husband's collection of fishing tackle found new purpose as whimsical garden art. Eleanor's garden is now the talk of the neighborhood, not because it's perfect, but because it's perfectly her. Full of memories, creativity, and ingenious solutions that let her continue gardening despite arthritis. And all it took was looking at her junk with new eyes. As she told me last week over lemonade on her porch, I thought I needed money to revive my garden, but all I really needed was imagination. Now every piece tells a story, my story. That's the magic of upcycling, my friends, and I can't wait to help you discover it too. Alright, let's kick things off with our first upcycling idea, transforming old kitchen colanders into hanging planters. I bet many of you have an extra colander tucked away in a kitchen cabinet. Maybe it's a bit dented, or perhaps you upgraded to a fancier one but couldn't bear to part with the old faithful. Well, that humble colander is about to become a garden showstopper. Here's what makes this project perfect for us seniors. The holes are already there. No drilling, no special tools, just pure simplicity. Picture this, a vintage metal colander, maybe with that lovely retro pattern, hanging from a tree branch or porch overhang, overflowing with cascading petunias or fragrant herbs. It's practical, charming, and couldn't be easier to create. All you need is your colander, some lightweight potting mix. I recommend the moisture control kind to keep it from drying out too quickly, a small piece of landscape fabric to line the bottom keeps the soil from washing through, some plants that love to trail, and 3 equal lengths of chain or sturdy cord. Simply line the bottom with the fabric, add your soil and plants, then attach the chains to the colander's rim, space them evenly for balance, and join them at the top with a hanging hook. Voila! You've got yourself a planter that drains perfectly and looks absolutely delightful, swaying gently in the breeze. What I love about this project is how gentle it is on arthritic hands, no tight gripping or precise movements required. And the result is a planter that's elevated, making it easier to enjoy without having to bend down. Plus, colanders come in such wonderful colors, that avocado green from the 70s or bright cherry red, adding an instant pop of vintage charm to your garden. I turned my grandmother's old enamel colander into a planter filled with trailing thyme and oregano right by my kitchen door. Now I just step outside and snip fresh herbs whenever I'm cooking, and every time I do, I think of Sunday dinners at her table. Isn't it wonderful how something so simple can hold so much meaning? Next up is an idea that's been an absolute game changer in my own garden, repurposing old wooden dresser drawers into rolling planters. Now, this one sounds fancy, but trust me, it's simpler than you might think. Maybe you've got an old dresser in the attic that's seen better days, or perhaps you've spotted one by the curb on garbage day. Those drawers, especially the deeper ones, are just waiting for their second act as charming garden containers. Here's the beauty of this project. With the addition of some simple casters on the bottom, you create a garden bed that can be moved easily to catch the sun or rolled closer when you want to tend it without straining your back. It's gardening that comes to you, rather than you having to bend down to it, perfect for those days when our knees or backs are giving us a bit of trouble. To create your rolling planter, start with a sturdy drawer, remove any hardware like handles that might get in the way. Drill a few drainage holes in the bottom if there aren't any already, or ask a handy neighbor for help with this one step if drilling isn't your thing. Line the bottom with landscape fabric, then screw casters onto each corner of the drawer's underside. Fill with potting soil, plant your favorites, and you're done. I turned an old oak drawer from my mother's dresser into a rolling herb garden that sits on my patio. When the sun moves, so does my garden. And there's something so special about growing fragrant basil and rosemary in a piece that holds family history. One neighbor liked mine so much that she created a whole fleet of drawer planters, some for vegetables, some for flowers, and arranged them on her driveway, creating an instant garden that requires no digging and very little bending. She calls it her drawer farm and says it's added years to her gardening life. Our third treasure is something I'm betting most of you have lying around: old teacups, mugs, or bowls with chips or cracks that make them less than ideal for your morning coffee but perfect for new life as miniature planters. There's something utterly charming about seeing a flowering plant peeking out from a vintage teacup or an herb sprouting from a coffee mug with a faded funny saying. This project is truly as simple as it gets, ideal for days when energy might be low but you still want to create something beautiful. If your container doesn't already have a crack or chip, which can often serve as natural drainage, you might need to add a small drainage hole. You can carefully drill one using a ceramic drill bit, or ask a crafty friend to help, or take an even simpler approach: just add a layer of small pebbles or broken pottery pieces at the bottom of the cup before adding soil. This creates a space for excess water to collect away from the roots. From there, just add a scoop of potting soil and a small plant or some seeds. Succulents work beautifully in teacups, as do mini African violets or small herbs like thyme. The best part? You can arrange these mini planters anywhere: windowsills, porch steps, or even hang mugs by their handles on a fence or garden wall using strong cup hooks. My friend Doris, who's 83 and lives in a small apartment with just a tiny balcony, created an entire memory garden this way. Each cup or bowl belonged to someone special in her life, and she planted each with flowers that reminded her of that person. Her husband's navy mug holds forget-me-nots. Her daughter's childhood cereal bowl sprouts cheerful pansies. She says tending this miniature garden keeps both her plants and her precious memories flourishing. Isn't that a beautiful thought? Small containers for small spaces, but big on meaning and joy. For our fourth garden transformation, let's talk about breathing new life into old wooden ladders. Whether it's a step ladder that's a bit too wobbly for climbing safely anymore, or an extension ladder that's been replaced with something sturdier, that ladder isn't ready for the landfill. It's ready for a stunning second act as a vertical planting display. This idea is perfect for those of us who want to maximize our garden space without a lot of bending or digging. A ladder garden brings plants up to a more comfortable height and creates instant vertical interest in any space, even a small patio or corner of the yard. And the best part? It's endlessly adaptable to whatever ladder you have on hand. For a step ladder, simply open it up in a stable position, give it a quick sanding if it's splintery, and perhaps a coat of outdoor paint if you're feeling colorful, though weathered wood has its own special charm. Then arrange potted plants on each step, larger pots on the bottom rungs, smaller ones toward the top for stability. You can even hang additional plants or garden tools from the sides using S-hooks. For a straight extension ladder, lean it securely against a wall or fence, make sure it's stable and won't slide. Or create an A-frame by hinging two ladder sections together at the top. Then place pots on the rungs or attach window boxes or guttering to create planting troughs along the sides. My neighbor Walter, a retired firefighter, transformed his old wooden extension ladder into what he calls his ladder garden. He painted it fire engine red as a nod to his career, secured it horizontally along his fence line, and attached metal buckets filled with cascading flowers to each rung. It's not just a garden feature. It's a conversation piece that connects to his life story. And the best part? He can tend it while standing, no kneeling required. My knees thank me every day, he jokes. And so do my flowers. Our fifth garden treasure comes from something most of us have tucked away in the garage. Old metal watering cans, perhaps with a leak or two, a missing rose, or just too rusty to use for their original purpose. These charming vessels have garden character written all over them, and they're about to become the stars of your outdoor space. A leaky watering can is actually perfect for planting. Those holes provide the drainage plants need. Simply fill with potting soil and pop in some colorful annuals or trailing vines. The spout makes a natural exit point for cascading plants like lobelia or sweet potato vine. Place your planted can on a garden step, nestle it among other plants, or even lay it on its side in a flower bed for the appearance of flowers spilling out, instant whimsy with zero effort. For watering cans without natural leaks, you can add drainage holes to the bottom with a drill and metal bit, or simply use them as protective decorative containers by placing a potted plant inside that you can remove for watering. This second approach is especially good if your vintage watering can is a bit of a treasure itself. But don't stop at just planting. Watering cans make wonderful garden art too. A collection of different sized cans arranged on a weathered bench or mounted on a fence creates an eye-catching display. You can even turn them into a mini water feature. Some clever gardeners connect old watering cans with copper tubing, creating the illusion that water is pouring from one to another. My sister-in-law Jean, who just celebrated her 75th birthday, inherited her father's collection of old galvanized watering cans. Rather than hiding them away, she created what she calls her watering can corner in the garden, some planted with bright flowers, others artfully arranged to catch rainwater that nourishes nearby plants. Dad would have loved seeing his old tools still helping things grow, she says. And I love having this little piece of him in my garden. What a beautiful way to honor both memories and practicality. And for our sixth idea, this one's my favorite, let's talk about transforming old wooden crates, boxes, or drawers into fairy gardens. This project is perfect for creating with grandchildren or simply indulging your own inner child. After all, who says imagination is just for the young? Wooden containers with a bit of history make magical miniature landscapes. That old cutlery box in the back of the drawer, the weathered wooden crate that once held oranges, even small wooden drawers removed from an unusable piece of furniture, they all have the perfect depth and character for creating an enchanted miniature world. Start by ensuring your container has drainage holes or add some with a drill. Line the bottom with landscape fabric, then add potting soil mixed with a bit of sand for good drainage. Now comes the creative part. Plant mini plants like small succulents, baby tears, woolly thyme, or miniature ferns to create your tiny landscape. Add a winding pebble path, a small mirror pond, perhaps a twig bridge or a fairy door made from popsicle sticks leaned against a rock mountain. The joy of fairy gardens is that they can be as simple or elaborate as you like, and they're perfect for container gardening when mobility might limit traditional garden work. Plus, they're endlessly adaptable. You can change them with the seasons, adding miniature pumpkins in fall or tiny pine cones in winter. My friend Margaret created a fairy garden in her husband's old wooden toolbox after he passed away. Tom was always building things, she told me. So I thought he'd like seeing his toolbox still helping create something beautiful. She added tiny benches made from twigs, miniature gardening tools, and even a diminutive bookshelf made from matchboxes, all nestled among tiny plants and mosses. Her grandchildren love adding to it when they visit, and she says it's become a living memorial that brings joy rather than sadness. Every time I water it, she says, I feel like I'm still taking care of something we both loved. Now, before we wrap things up, I promised you my favorite project, the one that took me just 30 minutes but has brought joy to my garden for years. It's what I call a memory branch mobile, and it combines natural elements with mementos in a way that creates movement, light, and personal meaning in any garden space. Here's what you'll need. A beautiful fallen branch, about 2 to 3 feet long, some fishing line or thin, clear craft wire, and a collection of weather-resistant items that hold meaning for you. Perhaps old keys, small garden tools, colorful glass beads, durable shells, or even laminated photos or quotes sealed in weatherproof coating. Start by finding a sturdy branch with several smaller offshoots. Oak and maple work beautifully. Clean it gently and let it dry completely if it's fresh. You might choose to leave it natural or paint it with outdoor paint. I left mine natural to show off its beautiful weathered texture. Next, cut varying lengths of fishing line or wire. Attach your meaningful items to the ends, making sure to secure them well with several wraps of wire or strong knots. Tie these dangling treasures to different points along your branch, varying the lengths for visual interest. Some might hang just a few inches below the branch while others dangle a foot or more. The key is variety, both in the items and how they hang. Once everything is securely attached, find the balance point of your branch and tie a strong wire or rope there for hanging. Hang your creation from a tree branch, pergola, or shepherd's hook in the garden. As the breeze catches it, your treasures will dance and catch the light, creating a living sculpture that combines nature, memory, and gentle movement. My memory branch features my grandfather's old garden whistle, my children's first garden trowels, sea glass from family beach trips, and small ceramic birds that remind me of visitors to my garden. When the sun catches it just right, or a gentle breeze sets everything in motion, it's like all those memories are having a conversation right there in my garden. Visitors always ask about different pieces, giving me the chance to share stories that might otherwise remain untold. Well, there you have it, my friends. We've just explored 6 wonderful ways to turn forgotten items into garden treasures, plus that special memory branch project that brings it all together. Let's quickly recap what we've discovered today. We've transformed colanders into perfect hanging planters that drain beautifully and add vintage charm. We've given old dresser drawers new life as rolling planters that let you garden without the backache. We've turned chipped teacups and mugs into charming miniature gardens full of personality. We've reimagined wooden ladders as vertical garden displays that bring your plants to a comfortable height. We've repurposed leaky watering cans into whimsical planters and garden art. And we've created enchanting fairy gardens in wooden crates that spark imagination at any age. Each project uses items you likely already have tucked away, requires minimal tools or special skills, and can be adapted to work with your specific energy levels and abilities. The best part? This isn't about creating picture-perfect garden features that look like they belong in a glossy magazine. It's about infusing your outdoor space with personality, history, and meaning. It's about looking at that junk with new eyes and seeing potential where others might see only trash. And it's about creating a garden that tells your story, that holds your memories, that makes you smile every time you step outside, all while being gentle on both your wallet and your body. So here's my invitation to you: start small. Choose just one idea that sparked your interest today. Look around your home with fresh eyes, in those cupboards, closets, and storage spaces, and see what forgotten treasures might be waiting for their garden debut. You don't need to transform everything at once. Even one special piece can bring new joy to your garden experience. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these ideas are you most excited to try? Do you have a special item you're now seeing in a whole new light? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I love hearing your stories, your plans, and especially your own clever upcycling ideas. And if this video brightened your day or sparked your creativity, give that like button a tap to let me know. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more ways to bring joy, beauty, and meaning to your golden years, one simple idea at a time. Until next time, happy gardening and happy upcycling. Your junk is about to become your garden's new treasure.